Hello, in this video we're going to talk about statistics and what you need to do to get started with statistics, and also how the statistics work from a high-level view. So first, to access statistics, you're going to of course click the tab there and you're going to see a calendar. And the significance of the green as opposed to the white means that all stats that you have designated to enter or keep on a daily basis have been entered by your employees. And if you take a look here, you're basically going to set your stat deck. In other words, you're going to determine what stats you want to keep. And this is a daily stat, just keep that in mind. But you're going to determine what stats you want to keep. And also keep in mind that some of these stats are stats that cannot necessarily be kept with your practice management software. You might get the numbers from your practice management software, but you're basically keeping stats using this system that really bring everything together. For instance, the Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, those aren't necessarily tracked in your practice management software, and you may want to know those. That drives a publicly facing or outwardly facing business. A lot of people in the public these days really look at reviews and decide whether or not to patronize a business based on the reviews. Different, metrics such as patients with future appointments, if that's an important stat for your business, different phone call stats. Again, all these are things that are not necessarily kept with normal practice management software. So the idea is that you can assign an employee to that particular stat, but the functionality also allows any employee to put the number into that stat. And when all stats for a given day have at least a 0 value, then that day turns green. And if you see here what that looks like, that means that a manager can go to the calendar and they can easily kind of query and see what stats have been completed or what days have been completed and what have not. So the very first activity to do in terms of stats is to edit the form and basically just determine what stats you want to keep. So if you scroll down here, you can just basically add another field. You're going to name that field. You're going to assign an employee to that stat. Remember, any employee can put a number in, and it is going to track who puts that number in. So if there's an incorrect stat entered, you can always go back and query that and determine which employee put in the incorrect stat. And then you're going to set a date from which you want to keep this stat. And let me explain what that date means there. You can see there's different dates here. If we were to not have any dates at all, and you began to track a stat, say October the 2nd, or all your stats October the 2nd, and you had a bunch of days put in and they're all green, and then you wanted to go add another stat, say you want to modify your stat deck and add something else to track. If we did not put that date in there, then all of these going all the way back, in other words, from when you started, would all turn white. And you would have to go in and put at least a 0 value in for that particular stat in order to turn all the days green again. Well, we didn't want to do that, so we add that date. And in fact, if you wanted to start the stat, say even October the 2nd, but you had numbers going back to last month, you could start those dates, say September the 4th, which was Labor Day. So we'll go September the 5th. And if you put September the 5th, you can literally go back and put stats in for all these days and begin to track stats back in time. So that's what that data is about. If you want to start stats more current day, you're going to put the current date in there. If you want to go back in time because you have numbers for that, maybe you have another system that you had been keeping your stats in, then you can put that previous date in there and you can go back and enter the stats like that. If you wanted to just enter a stat on the last day of the month that totals the entire month, maybe you have another software and you wanted to go back for 1 year even and put in just the last day of the month, the number of office visits, the number of referrals by different sources or channels, so on and so forth. You could do that. And then when you make your dashboard, it would keep or kind of total everything for different date periods that you select, which we'll go over in a different video. So again, with the stats the way they are, this allows you to track anything that you would like to track, any key performance indicators within your business, whether or not your regular practice management software tracks them or not. And it brings it all together into a platform that allows a business owner to track this pertinent information and also subdivide by locations which you can select here. And all this information is going to be fed into the dashboard, which we'll go over in another video. So if you have any questions, please reach out with the help button or email us at support@OfficeAutomated.com.